This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, Thain, Lurk of Thainks. Thain, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to diving into your story a little bit. Let's just start right from the top. What is Thainks?
So Thainks is mainly a graphic design company that specializes in branding of businesses.
Beautiful.
Mostly small businesses that you're very familiar with throughout Barrie, like Kensington's wood-fired pizza joint, farmhouse, a lot of restaurants. And we've also done city brands like the city of Aurelia, which is our neighbor to the north. So we've been involved in this area in the branding of a lot of businesses that people have come to know and enjoy, and just staples really of the neighborhood.
I love it. So what is it you do when you say graphic design, so we can paint a picture in the audience head? What is it you would do for these businesses? You create their logo, you create their visuals.
So I do things a bit different. And so I was a professor at Georgian College for 5 years as well. And so I have a lot of experience in front of people. And so I do things different than most, I would say, artists like to do it. Most artists don't like to have someone over their shoulder watching them work. That's, and in my early stages, I hated that too. It was like, oh, get away, man. I don't want you here seeing this until it's finished. But as I got better and better at it, I've been doing this for over 20 plus years. I started to say, it's better if they're there watching, because I can listen to their feedback on a constant basis and work with them to create something that I know will work visually and communicate what they want. And so it ended up being this marriage that works better than any other process that I'd ever used before. So now I work with clients over Zoom, if we're doing a logo or even a business card, and say, let's work together. Let's take an hour and work together, and we can hash it out. I have, like I said, it's like famous graphic designer said, Paul Rand, you're not paying me for, an hour, you're paying me for 20 years. And I use that hour with my 20 years of experience to create something that works for them. See, that's the difference. Is like, if it communicates exactly what they want, then you've done your job. And that's what Thainks does. That's a little different from everybody else, kind of, I think.
I love it, man. I always wonder, communication is so vital for us human beings, right? It's how we move forward in life or fall backwards, often based on communication. And it's not a perfect science, but we are a marketing company, as many as the audience knows. Yes. We help our small and medium businesses brand themselves by getting a lot of attention, a little bit differently than you.
Yeah.
But when you say want to make sure it communicates perfectly for the business, how do we do that? How do I know if it communicates it perfectly?
I'll give you the formula right here and right now. It's basically to write down 4 words that are the words that mean the most to your business. That's it. Like, so for my business, Thainks, it was fun, because I wanted people to know I'm having fun. Creative, branding, professional. Those 4 words represent exactly what I want to bring to the world. That's it. 4 words. And then I design everything to go with those 4 words forever. That's it. Like, I stay with those 4 words forever. And the thing is, a brand can change. Your brand, your words can change over time. So this year I've decided to get away from fun and go more to sophisticated. I'm going to be professional, creative, and more sophisticated, because I'm getting older and fun kind of doesn't fit my aesthetic anymore. Like, it's time to sophisticate yourself. So you can change your brand, but then the key is to remember the core is in a small business is usually the owner. So it's things that represent them. And I'm talking about real estate reps. I'm talking about everything here. We're talking about financial companies, even if it's just you, you're communicating to other people what your core audience is, or the people that are like you. You're saying, I like to rock climb. I like to do these other things. And those are the people that are going to be attracted to you because you have like minds. You're feeding out that energy that attracts that same energy back. And it's very important as you design a business brand. I can't stress this enough. It's not something you want to go online and click a button and make a brand, because it won't work for you. I mean, it may work a little bit, but when you do it right and you put out the right vibe to the world and you say, here I am, I'm Thain, this is Thainks, this is what we're about, and it fits, people come out of nowhere. You're just like, where did this person come from? You know what I mean? They just like feel your vibe, and they want to know you. They want to know what's behind this brand. Anyway, so I get off on a little bit of
No, I love it. I love it, man. A couple of questions off our normal questions, because growing business is like one of my passions. It's really that and fitness.
Yeah. It's been mine for 20 years too. I like helping people grow. That's a big part of it. And what I offer to do a logo design, like I give so much more to them. If they're struggling with knowing connections in the city and stuff, like I connect, I network, I do all these other things that I can help any small business owner cultivate their business. That's really it. At the end of the day, I want to help them grow.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And those visuals are so important because they're often the first impression that the audience gets of us. So it's not just the logo, I'm assuming you create, although that's probably a part of it, but any imagery that goes along with their stuff, right? So you are the graphic side of it, the visuals.
And I create stuff that you're not going to think of right away. Like, because I think genius comes from connecting something out here to something here. So you're communicating this here, but I'm thinking over here. And here's the interesting thing. When you think of creativity, most people say, oh, think outside the box. No, the box is the walls that you create. So for example, we'll go back to my example of my business. One wall would be creative. One wall would be professional. One wall would be fun. And the other would be branding. Those are my 4 walls. I've now created a space for that communication to sit in. And then I create, like, I think of an idea out here on the far edges of that box that you create with your own communication. Does that make sense? I know that kind of sounds abstract, but
yeah, it is a little abstract, but I think I'm following you a bit. I recognize that I am not meant for that world, and I am meant to hire people like you for that world. As soon as you explain that, I'm like, yeah, he gets things that I don't get.
Well, of course I get things that you don't get, but that's okay. That's
why we hire out. I look for experts everywhere I go.
I sat in high school drawing on my notebooks for hours and hours and hours and hours, and not everybody did that. And I looked insane at the time, and I felt insane at the time, and it was just what I felt naturally I could bring to the world, was just to create. So yeah, of course I went down the rabbit hole in life of becoming a creator, but I am trying to explain that basically you're going to use those words to create a box from which we can then say what's creative inside of that box that will still resonate to those original words that represent everything about you. Yeah. That's kind of what I was trying to say.
I think I understand the approach. You're narrowing the approach rather than having this super vague statement. It's much more targeted. In our world, we use similar language. Often it's like, let's not try to help everybody. Right. Let's try to help this cohort of people to the maximum amount rather than mediocrely helping a bunch of people.
Exactly. And at the same time, we're doing that to represent the business that we're working for in a creative way, so that they're not the same as Joe Schmo down the street. We don't want that. Brand is about expression. It's about like letting your colors fly, you know? So you create almost a flag for yourself. Basically, you're saying, this is what I represent, and come. we want people to come. That's the point. But build it and they will come, as they say.
I like it. I like it, man. So you gave us a little bit of your backstory there. It seems like you've just been an artist all your life. Is that what brought you to doing this? Like being an artist and then building a graphic design business, that may be some natural evolution to that, but still that's a big leap to be like, I love fitness, for example. And I was in that industry for a while, haven't been in there for a long time, but not everybody creates a business out of their passion. So is that what you felt, that you've just been doing this for so long that you have the skills to now help other people? What brought you to running your own business in this world?
So, the best advice I can give to any business owner is quit your job. And that's how I got started. Quit my job. I started out, I went to art school. After high school, I actually went on a mission for my church for 2 years, and I did that. And then I came home, and after that service was over, I was like, what do I want to do? So I went to university. I went to Brigham Young University in Idaho. And then it wasn't for me. I was ADHD, and everybody throws that term around, but I definitely had focus problems, and I have been diagnosed, and et cetera, et cetera. But it was hard for me to just sit in a class and learn. And I never was able to do that. That's why I drew on my notebooks, because I was in my zone focusing on what I loved. And the teachers would be like, Thain, are you paying attention? And like, no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm in my own world. And it didn't work for me the way that I was learning. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But I've found anyway. And so I went to art school and I won. It was like, oh, here are my people. Oh, yeah. And I came out of class, top of my class. I won almost every internship, anything I could do. Like, it was like everything connected all at once. It was like, oh, okay. Yeah, there are people like me in this world. And I can thrive here. I found my place, and it was like green grass, and it was wonderful.
Yep.
The sun was shining, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to have to suffer through life.
Not as much anyway.
Yeah, not as much. No, so then that's where it started. I went to art school. I found my people. I was like, oh, now I'm here. And then I went and got a few jobs I went to the Art Institute in Pennsylvania. And out of school, the professors there gave me a job. They literally just handed me a job. They were like, here, work at this corporation. It's like one of the best jobs we can find. They pay really well. And I was like, okay. So I went and started working on their websites and their internal website called the intranet. And so I did that for about a year, and then I met my wife and I moved up to Canada. She brought me here, and I started working for her business as their chief production manager, designing the graphics for their company as well. And so I started to get a little bit of entrepreneurial bug working in her business and working with her father and her, and we all we were just running a small business together, and we each had our part in that. And so that gave me the confidence to say, oh, okay, business isn't that hard. You have to do the things, but they're not as hard as it seems. That's one of the things that I think that anybody looking to start a business should understand, that business isn't that hard. There's a lot of people that don't have degrees doing business because it isn't that hard. Yes, you have to do things and you'll have to learn things, but it's not that hard. And the other part to that is you will learn and you will make mistakes. And that is part of the growth of owning a business and part of the fun of it too. Mm-hmm. Because it's that naivety going into it that helps push you and give you the ambition. And then as you start to learn, you go, oh man, I would have never started a business had I known. But at the end of the day, it's that you will discover things little by little in business, and you don't have to be afraid to start a business, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so many of us are, but I think that's great advice. I look at business as a great journey of seeking answers.
It is.
At least a big part of it, right? And unfortunately, humans want it now. Like, give me all the answers now. What my life look like? It'd be like, yeah, you'd have a lot over the rest of us, but it would be boring if you got it all right now. What would you do for the rest of your life with these godly answers? It's the seeking. It's the journey part of it that can make it so rewarding, especially when it's hard earned. You say business isn't hard. I think there is some difficulty to business, but I think one of the main things to business, like fitness, coming from the fitness world, it's simple. The formula, but it's not easy. It's the consistency, doing it for a lifetime. Same with business. Doing it for a lifetime that's the tricky part, is that consistency, I find.
Absolutely. I think what I was trying to say, if you love something and you're good at it, you'll figure out the rest.
Yeah, I agree.
You will. You'll have to. Otherwise, that's why most businesses fail, because they don't figure out the rest. They're good at what they do. They haven't figured out the rest of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things in this community to help business owners learn those other things. There's just different programs and different government programs that will help any business owner get to that next level.
And then other people, tons of resources. Simcoe County is fantastic for that.
Absolutely. Mentorship here is huge. People are not afraid to help. You can reach out to people. I know that's a dead art, but I don't mind it when someone calls me up and says, "Hey, I don't know what to do here. I'm starting a business and this and that." And I'll help them as much as I can, because somebody helped me at one point, So maybe, and I still don't have all the answers. I still have mentors. I still look to the next level of business leadership.
Yeah.
I think that's something that will always be changing in your business as well. You'll always be seeking that next level of mentorship.
Yeah, I remember I talk about this podcast is really an extension of me, right? Like, how could it not be?
Yeah.
It's the things that I enjoy in my life, and we talk about them on the show. And mentorship is something I talk about often. Most of my rules for life are inked onto my arm, and they came from one mentor or another. And I remember a great piece of advice from one of them was, make sure you have somebody that's ahead of where you are in your game that you're playing. Make sure you have competition or an ally or an opponent or something at your level to maybe have friendly competition with or collaboration with, and make sure you have someone that's earlier in the game than you, so you can help. You can help them be helped by somebody and compete or collaborate with another, is this kind of perfect space. And I try to keep that around me, make sure that I'm always giving back, make sure that I'm always asking for help, and make sure that me and the other person, essentially my gym partner, are pushing each other to get to the next stage. But I love that. I think that's eloquently put. And I think that can be helpful and resonate with the people who are listening. Big part of this show is our education piece. It's not just let's come on here, talk about our products and services, talk about ourselves. Those are all beneficial. But if we can plant some valuable information in people's mind to increase the quality of their life or their decision-making abilities, goodness, it can help them in some way. So myths or misconceptions, we talk about them all the time. They're pretty much in every facet of life. What are some type of myths, misconceptions that you could clarify for us about your style of helping a company brand themselves?
I've been called slow in the past. That's probably the only thing that people would say that's negative about using my service, is that I'm slow. I don't consider slow. I create space for creativity to happen. And so I'm very honest and forthright about things taking the time that they do. And I have I have 5 stars on Google and everything else. The thing is, like, working with me, I'm very honest in my communication, but it does take time to come up with the creativity. And that's something that shouldn't be rushed, because in order to create something new, you have to go to places that take time. You have to go through the process of, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. Okay, there's something there. Let's try that.
It's like Edison.
And then you're like,
9,000 ways how to not create a light bulb.
Exactly. It's like 999 ways not to create a light bulb.
Yeah.
And that's the part where it can take some time to create something new. But when it is right and when it connects, most of my clients leave going like, wow, like you knew me better than I knew myself, kind of thing. And I'm like, no, we did the work. We just did the work. It's like anything else. You find there is a formula, there is a way to get there. It takes work. And that work is creativity, but it's also creativity can be misunderstood. There is work behind creativity. A lot of
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Some of us think it just comes from the gods. We got a guitar in our hand. We just woke up in the morning and then boom, all of a sudden we're playing Jimi Hendrix or whatever song you want to
No.
talk about. But I think maybe there is some innate talent into some of us. Like when I look at Tiger Woods, give me the same amount of practice that Tiger Woods had. I believe I probably wouldn't have been Tiger Woods, as many other people have practiced as much as he has, and they didn't turn into him or any other genius of their craft. So I do believe we're born with something. Right. But if you take the work away from Tiger Woods, we wouldn't know his name.
Right.
I believe that. If you take the work away from Gretzky or Van Halen or any of these artists, we wouldn't know who they exist. So I'm like 90% work. If you got some 10% left over, great, but you'll still be amazing if you dive into your work.
Exactly. And just to throw a loophole in here, recently I've started acting, and because after 20 years or so of graphic design, I was looking for a new creative outlet. I mean, I've been doing this same thing for so long, and I started acting, and I was like, oh, well, I want to become an actor now. Okay. So what do? Well, I just work. I just work really hard. I find my direction, I point to it, and I work at it until I'm there. And then I point another direction and I work at it until I'm there. And then you keep doing that. And now I have an agent. I'm doing commercials. I just got booked today for a How Not to Hire a Hitman series, which is being shot in Hamilton. I was just in a commercial last couple weeks. I had just finished a film with Matty Cardruple, who is he's on Stranger Things. He's the video store clerk.
Nice.
So I am the thing that I want to impress upon people is just work, man. If you find something in this life you want as a business owner, as a hobby, anything, just put in the work, have a direction that you're aiming, and go. That's it.
I love it. And I want to get into your story a little bit more, but you touched on a subject that rings very true to me. I talk about work and defining it constantly. We have a large team over here. We're part of a very large company. And, I give talks as much as I can. I'm a counselor over at an addictions facility called Cornerstone Recovery as well on the weekend. A little bit of my heart over there. But we talk about the same, like I just talk about the same stuff wherever I go. It's like, these are the people that I can help and be helped by. I find myself with the same group of people. So when people are listening to what you just said a moment ago, there's going to be groups like me. There's going to be a much larger group that thinks workaholics, hustle. It's just painful and stressful. No. So do you define work? Does all your work have to be for a paycheck, or is your love life work? Is your garden work? Is your reading a book work? Like, how do you define it?
So in my graphic design business, I would outwork everybody. Because I loved it, because it wasn't work to me. It was about giving them more than they asked for. And that put my stamp on it. That said, like, I was proud of this. That said, like, I was willing to do the extra work not to get paid for, because I wanted this to be successful for them. And then in the new thing that I'm doing, like acting, I outwork everybody else too, because, and I don't know if that for a fact, but in my mind, that's how I see it. But I do a lot of extra work because I'm new to it, and I need to catch up to people with 30 years experience. So now it's a different thing where I need to try and move to a state where I can represent that acting with the correct level that I need to have to do the best service to it, because acting is about communicating, once again, the emotions and the feelings and the validation for the character you're playing. And so I had to work extra hard at that. And I did thousands of hours. Don't get me wrong. During COVID, I sat in front of a camera for hours and hours and hours doing nothing other than acting. And the reason I would do that is because that's how you get over your nerves. That's how you build the confidence. That's how you get better and better at it. And it sounds crazy, but that is the acting world, is sitting in front of a camera. That's what it is. And so unless you're on stage, that's different. But I do a lot of movies and television. And so that level of work, thousands of hours in front of a camera, it goes quickly because I love it. It's something I want. It's something that I'm passionate about. And it lights me up. Like, that's the thing I would say. Find the thing in this life that lights you up. You're just like, people want to be around you after you've done it, because there's just something about you. You're radiating to the world. You're just saying, like, I'm alive, man. And I'm enjoying this ride. And people gravitate to that. They are like, whoa, that guy's alive, or that girl's alive. I want to be there. I want to be part of that person's like circle. And you will just bring so much in through your radiation of doing what you love. That is, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
I like it.
it's
let me keep on this for a second.
Sure.
So for the people out there, like, I just saw this video this morning, like, you don't have to work all day. There's a harmony to it. Deal with your health, all this kind of stuff. And I think it just comes in the different definitions of the word work.
That's true.
So yeah. Do you sleep? Do you eat? Do you take care of yourself? Do you have a good love life? Or do you just work all day, every day until your fingers bleed?
I will be honest with you. I don't sleep as well as most. I do have that comes with the ADHD.
Okay.
It's a very common symptom of ADHD. And I do I do a lot of my acting stuff at night when most people are sleeping. But I do try to balance, because let me tell you, if I show up on set and I can't stay awake for 12 hours, I'm no use to anybody. So you have to eat right to be an actor. You have to take care of yourself. If your teeth are falling out, if you're not going to be of use to anybody unless they're looking for that. But I mean, like, you have to take care of yourself in any position in this life, because in order to be good at something, in order to be the best, you have to be healthy in it. That goes for taking care of your finances. That goes for anything. If you let one area slide, that's your weakness, and then everything can kind of slide out that way.
So you found a way to balance out most things and work this much.
Well, okay. So I'm also a father of 2 boys, and I've raised them. I'm their main. I mean, they live with me full time, basically.
Yeah.
And so now they're in their 19. They're 19 and 18, so they're older now. But like, I was able to balance becoming an actor, running a business, and raising 2 boys, all as I was doing it. I don't know. And it's just a matter of, I say, find the things that light you up and that make you feel good. And then you're not working when you're doing it. And so here's why I became an actor, actually. So as my boys got to the age where they didn't need me as much, which is as a single father, they were my world. At a point, there became a shift. I would work and I would take care of my boys, and then they didn't need me as much. And that was around their, 14, 15. They're like, oh, I'm going to go hang with my friends. And then I was like, well, I don't have anything to do.
What about me, boys? Come on. Not like I grew you or anything.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's a very common thing for, I'd say, single parents, that they go through this phase where, now what do I do with my time? I don't know what to do with my time. And around that time in my life, I did a music video for a friend of mine who was a client. And it was the Mystics music video. And he asked me, will you swing a sword? And I was like, sure, I'll swing a sword. Yeah, that's fine. So I get there and we're shooting this music video, and he hands me this 45-pound prop sword. It's not for swinging. It's like a heavy, heavy, solid steel sword. And I'm like, oh man. So I take the sword and I start doing it, and we end up shooting for 4 hours, and my hands are bleeding and they're calloused. And I'm like, wow, that was incredible. I need to do some more of that. And so the next thing I did was go to the internet and try and learn how to become an actor. I tried to learn how to learn. And that is always
That's huge right there. That helped me significantly.
Yeah, exactly. That is a skill in itself. In fact, I feel that most university and college is learning how to learn. That is what you go to school for. And then once you learn how to learn and you find the shortcuts to learning, I wouldn't say shortcuts, but like,
I get what you're saying. They'll not make less mistakes than you did last time learning.
Exactly. That is the best way to put it. Making less mistakes, having a direct connection to your result. And that came from 20 years as a graphic designer. I was able to go boom, 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 and go after those things in this new area that I was at. But here's the thing. I had all this time now, and my kids were old enough I could leave and go start taking acting lessons and stuff like that. And so it led me to fulfilling another purpose in life that I really wanted. And I used to tell people, oh, I'll be an actor in another life. That was what I used to say. But who knows if we have another life? I don't know. So I got to my 40s and I swung this sword, this heavy sword, and my hands were bleeding, and I wanted this new thing so bad. And I was like, but I didn't understand it. I knew I always wanted to be an actor, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't know how to go after it. And I started learning that process, and I started taking lessons. And before long, I was spending hours and hours and hours in my free time just going down that path of,
yeah.
And when I say it's work, it's not though, because it lights me up, and everything else in my world attracts. It brought more clients to my business. It brought, because I was happier. You know what I mean?
It's huge. That energy ripples outward, man.
Exactly.
It deflects the negative and brings in the positive. I believe that fully.
And not to say that when I was raising my kids, I wasn't happy. It was just different. Now I had another purpose, and it was at the right stage of life for me to bring something new into my life. And I think that's one of the beauties that I can say is that there is a flow to life. And if you listen to it, it will work for you. If you listen to like, well, now I need to find something to do. And then it dropped in my lap, and it came to me at that right moment. And it was like stranger than fiction, man. If I look back and I go, how did that happen? How did I become an actor? Because I just did a comedy set for 150 people last week in a movie. And I was like, how did that happen? I was never going to be a comedian. I never dreamed of any of this. And here I am standing up in front of 150 people doing a comedy set for a movie. And now I'm doing this, and here we are. And it was just the thing that was in front of me, the movie that was in front of me that I had to do. And so I learned how to be a comedian. I did the work to do that. And so you basically just keep doing that. You do what's in front of you until you get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, life's very interesting. A lot of human beings, myself for a long period of time, thought that we had the big master plan. And then you learn very, very quickly that life doesn't give a shit about your master plan, and it will send you what it wants to send you, and you will do with it what you want to do with it. But opportunities come all the time, I think. And it's one of the reasons I love mindfulness so much, to understand your body, to actually be able to listen to it a little bit more. I think of it more as like listening to life a little bit more, so that I miss out on less of these things and create better connections in many different ways, business opportunities, people, myself, etc. But just stopping for a moment to actually hear these things or feel these things, I think can be wildly beneficial, especially over a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you have to listen to yourself. And I mean, I can break this down in so many different ways, but I talked to a gut specialist and he said, "What's the best thing?" I asked him, "What's the best thing you can do for your nutrition?" He said, "Get all the food, put them in front of you, and listen to your gut. It will tell you what to eat."
Hmm.
And I thought, that's interesting. But he's right, because I know for 100% now that I've tuned into that, that if I grab something to eat, my body will tell me if I want it or not. If
Hmm.
that frequency is the right frequency for what I need that day, because we're constantly in flux. So, especially as you get older and your body doesn't produce as many enzymes and stuff like that, you have to listen. And so that's just an example of food, but like the flow of life is always talking to us if we listen. And I'm not a huge spiritualist. I'm not one of those guys that's going to go off and tell you I listen, talk to angels. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just a guy who listens. You know what I mean, to what life's throwing at me. And I think that is a very important thing to do, to just realize there's shifts and you can't be comfortable. It's okay to not be comfortable.
I love that point. And actually, that leads us into the next part. So, as I said before, podcast being an extension of me, one of my rules, I have 15 of them here, is do hard things. Right,
Yeah.
right there, number 4.
Yes.
Right at the top. First, it tells me about how many minutes are in a day, because no day beyond that is guaranteed to me. Not even the day itself could be guaranteed until afternoon. But at least I know that there's 1,440 minutes in the day that I have something to do with.
Yes.
What am I going to do with it? And it says, remember, you will die. It's a good follow-up to be like, tomorrow may not come.
Yes.
Be here in the moment. Be a little bit present, right? Listen, like you were just talking about, and then do hard things. So the next part is really digging into the story of the guests that have been on here. What kind of hard shit have you been through? What did you learn from it? And more deeply than that, it's not just like, let's talk about some of our hard stuff and what did we learn from it, but it's really trying to, I believe this before we started this show, but now 400 episodes later and been talking to as many business owners as we have for the last 10 years, I believe this is more true now than ever. As entrepreneurs do hard things. Growing a business is difficult. There's constant stress. I believe you're stressed if you grow, if you stagnate, or you decline. One way or another, you're stressed. So you choose your stress. But I believe, like a tree, like a plant, like many other things out there, that you need stress, you need discomfort in some way to grow. I believe our body biologically is wired for energy conservation. So it needs a push to do these things. Otherwise, its job is homeostasis, reserve that energy for the next thing. Growing a muscle requires a lot of pressure to force it to grow. I think the same is with the brain, the heart, and with other human beings. So we love to ask the guests on the show, any trials, tribulations, hardships that you're willing to share with us that when you went through them probably sucked, as doing hard things has a symptom and it often doesn't feel good. But when you look back at it in hindsight, you wouldn't remove that ingredient from the recipe that has now become you, because it's led you to living your life that you enjoy today.
Yeah, I think you said it. Everything, I look back in my life and I am very self-aware. I think I am. We can always be a little more self-aware.
Sure. Yeah.
But I look back in my life, I had a toxic kind of home life. And I won't go deep into specifics because that can be a trigger kind of warning area of life. But I had abusive situations, physical abuse more than anything. And that I didn't even realize that was wrong until I was older and starting to get into my adulthood. Like that's something I think that people that go through abuse and stuff don't always communicate, is that they didn't even know it was wrong because they didn't have another litmus test to hold up to it and say, oh, this is bad, this is toxic. No, this is just my life. And I didn't
The
know.
only environment you knew, right?
Yeah, exactly. So once you know something's wrong in your life, you can kind of take two steps. One is to change it and try and learn from it and grow from it, or the other is to stagnate in it and just let it destroy and take over you. And I've always chosen to try, like, make a choice to get better, to learn, to grow, to use it, to give it as fuel into whatever next thing I do. And so, like, when I got married and these things from childhood started coming into my life, and I didn't know what was happening. In fact, it was very hard to understand. It was very hard to process. And I went to counselors and got help and tried to figure all this stuff out. But the thing is, like, any trial or tribulation that I've come through, you've got two choices. You can let it become that, your life could become that, or you can learn from it and grow from it and push harder than you ever have, because you have new fuel source in your life. And I'm not saying that it's good to have these trials, but life is a trial. The whole thing is like a sacrifice and being comfortable. I mean, just try turning down your thermostat a few degrees and be uncomfortable for a day. It doesn't hurt you. It won't kill you. It'll make you stronger. And that's the truth of life. Like, if we get comfortable and we get our nice couches and we sit in them and we watch TV, and I do this too. Don't get me wrong. I watch a lot of movies. I love movies. But it's when we get outside and we start scraping our knees that we feel the most alive. And that's it. Just get uncomfortable and be okay with that. Imagine a world where that would be the norm, and that's what people had 200 years ago. So we're very lucky to have such nice comforts that it doesn't hurt to step out of it every now and then and get uncomfortable.
Anyway.
I
love it, man.
Yeah.
Can I ask you if you're comfortable with it, going through what you went through at such a young age, and then basically from my interpretation of what you said, following you until your marriage and maybe beyond?
Yeah.
So it's a part of your character in some way. It's a puzzle piece of your puzzle. Do you regret going through it? Do you think it helped hone you and who you are today?
Of course, I have moments when you're thinking on it and you're like, why did this define me like this? Why did I go through this? Why did I need this? But then if I look back at my life, and I'm very honest about this, I don't think I would change it, because everything came in the moment it needed to. You know, the world and the flow has a way of rebalancing itself around what's happened to you and what you're going through. And if you listen and you work with that flow, it will help rebalance everything you need to get you back going straight again. And I think the truth is that I don't regret it. I don't regret that I had a father that was a little rough. You know what I mean? Like, it was hard to deal with at the time, but it kind of defines who you are, the things you go through, all of them, all the challenges. And if you look back, like I said, hundreds of years ago, life was very different. Raising children was very different. Like, a lot of these lessons that families pass down have changed, and we've become very comfortable. And it's okay that you're a little harder than everybody else. It's okay that, like, it's okay. Everything's okay, really. You have to listen to you. You have to listen to your guiding force. And that's really what I say to everybody, whether it's a business owner, whether it's a single mother trying to find something to do with their time when their children start to pull away. And it doesn't matter. Listen to yourself. If you need something, go find it. If you don't, stay where you are and try and find happiness in what you're in. Anyways, I'm turning into a motivational speaker right now. And I tend to do that because I was a college professor. So I tend to
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said. And thanks for sharing that with us. Many people that are listening are going to resonate with the same thing. And that's why we have that question, because I don't want people just coming on here and saying how fantastic life is and everything's perfect all the time.
No.
If it is perfect, it's because that person has an equal amount of hardships. Like you can't have the light without the dark type of thing.
Exactly.
I believe that as true as I've ever believed it. And if we embraced and we're grateful for both, what would our lives look like, rather than looking at one as a victim of or a burden to me and
Yeah.
constantly chasing pleasure, which I think we get confused with a fair bit.
Absolutely. I think a big thing that people misunderstand is that they think we're supposed to be happy. And I don't think we're supposed to just be happy as a default. I think that happiness comes when it's meant to, and pain comes when it's meant to, just as much. And like you said, there is light and there is dark, and we need to understand how to balance both.
And is pain or happiness good or bad, or they just are?
They just are. They
That's
just are. Like you can't. I don't know anybody who's gone through life without either one.
No.
So you tell me. I mean, is it possible? Because if so, I'd like to go to the happy side more. But I don't think you would understand happiness if you didn't have the pain to balance it.
I think that was the money shot right there. You wouldn't. If it was your baseline, if you were there all the time, I don't think you would notice it. And I like to talk about pain a fair bit. It comes up in the addiction facility all the time, as you can imagine. And it's so easy to logically think pain equals bad, negative correlation to pain. But then again, you put somebody in a gym, often they're chasing the pain. Runners chase that burn, that runner's high. You have to get through that barrier to get that mental stimulation.
Yeah,
Studying hard, working hard for something, passing that test, all painful, walking up that mountain, doing that hike, but yet you get such a great feeling from it. So now, to me, pain is subjective to the individual, but objectively, it isn't negative or positive. It just is. It's how you choose to use it.
exactly. And if you train your mind to accept pain as part of life, you can watch in a moment. If you're feeling pain and you just say, cool, my arm hurts, your brain will switch immediately. Instead of being like, I'm in so much pain, I hate this pain in my arm. But if you go, I accept that my arm is hurting, and I'm just going to allow that to hurt, your brain just rewires itself, and you're just like, okay, my arm hurts, cool. It's like weird how that works, but it actually can happen in that moment. And I'm a rock climber, so a lot.
You know about pain then?
Yeah, a
Rock
lot of
climbing is
rock
an easy.
climbing is masochist in a way, not in the way we're hurting ourselves on purpose, but it is a pain.
You kind of are.
Yeah, we kind of are.
Same with the gym.
Yeah,
You go there, you get the pain. That's the reward, plus a bunch of
exactly.
other things.
Exactly. It is part of the reward. And if I were to be scared of that pain, I would never rock climb.
And then you'd miss out on the beauty of rock climbing.
Out on all the benefits that come. And that's another thing that lights me up, and I would say that rock climbing for me is another way that I let go of some of that toxic pain from my past and stuff like that, because it's gushing, it's getting it out of you. It's getting out that negative energy of the week, and you need something like that in your life to help you gush out your negative forces, I guess you could say. Like, oh, I'm stressed, I got all these things, I got this, I got this, I get this. Go to the gym, get it out. You know what I mean? Because it'll help balance your life and restructure you. And for me, that's rock climbing. I do that as my thing to kind of like gush it out, get it out of me.
I love it, man. Last question for you. This conversation went super quick. The good ones always do, though. Once we start talking about life and that good shit, that's what I dig. So I appreciate you going there with me, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Really, it's been an enjoyable conversation. What's the best way for people that are interested, especially in Thainks, that they're interested in looking at their graphic visuals, their logo, anything like that? They want to level up their imagery and talk to you about that. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, Thainks, and it's THAINKS.ca. So it's like my name, or thanks.com. Either one will work. You can reach out to me through my form on there. You can give me a call. I am pretty easy to work with as far as just like reaching out to. If I can't help you, I will try and point you to someone that can. And there's really nobody that's come and to my business that I've just turned away flat. It doesn't help anybody. Let's if you need something and you don't know how to get it, reach out. If I can help you, I will.
Awesome, man. Any socials that you want to plug there as well, or is the website the best spot?
Sure. Thainks has all of the socials as well. You can go to Thainks on Instagram or Facebook. Also, Thain Wesley is my acting name I go by. I changed it. Just my middle name is Wesley.
Cool.
So Thain Wesley is my Instagram for my acting and just my personal stuff as well. That's it.
Love it, man. Thain, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. That was one of the highlights of my day for sure. And taking us through your version of your Lord of the Rings story. I do think there are many ups and downs, and that's what makes life the beautiful, messy existence that we all play in. It's been great chatting with you, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.